This is the fourth and final video in my Independent Scholars Manifesto. If you've watched my other videos, the challenge you might face at this point, even if you agree with everything I've said, is that you just don't have the financial resources to do what I am suggesting. I am sympathetic to this challenge, and there is no easy solution. It is a challenge I faced when I left academia, and one that I continue to wrestle with. Moving out of academia not only caused an identity crisis for me, it also left me in a financially precarious position. But I want to offer a few words of encouragement on this topic, with the hopes that others will add their own perspective. Personally, I found that the parts of the transition that were hardest were my last year in academia and my first year out of academia. The last year in academia was difficult because I had no idea what I was going to do next, and I felt that I had failed in the career I had chosen. The first year out of academia was difficult because I felt uncertain about my abilities and was, in fact, a complete beginner in a new field. All of that being said, I want to suggest four more ideas, which I hope will inspire you if you are considering leaving the academy. 1. People with PhDs are capable of earning a lot of money. 2. People with PhDs deserve to earn a lot of money. 3. Making money isn't evil. And 4. Financial independence doesn't necessarily mean being rich. So first, people with PhDs are capable of earning a lot of money. I think this point needs to be emphasized. If you successfully earned a PhD, you have the ability to make money. All you have to do is to apply yourself with the same intensity and dedication to making money that you did to completing your PhD. Making money is a skill that can be learned like any other skill. It might take some time. As I already mentioned, getting started was, for me, the hardest part. But more people with PhDs need to know that they actually can make money if they set their minds to it. There are abundant resources for learning how to make money. Read all the business and self help books you can get your hands on, digest them, master them. Learn about new fields and certifications that will give you credibility and enhance your earnings potential. Attend a coding or UX bootcamp, get a project management certification, study for the Chartered Financial Analyst designation, or explore some other path that suits you. Each of these options will be easier than getting a PhD, and the financial payoff will astonish you. If you have a PhD, you're capable of understanding and putting this material into practice. Indeed, if you are willing to become a beginner again, I suspect that learning to make money will be much easier than earning a PhD. It's not too late to begin that process either, even if you've already spent a long time in graduate school. Second, people with PhDs deserve to earn a lot of money. To think through this a little more, stop for a second to ask how much tuition is paid for a class that you typically teach. I estimate that collectively, students in the classes I used to teach paid between $100,000 and $300,000 in tuition. That's per class per semester. Let's give half of that number, a generous cut, I think, to staff, maintenance, facilities, and administrators. This still leaves between $50,000 and $150,000 of tuition for the instructor. Say I teach 4 classes per year. I don't see why I shouldn't be making between $200,000 and $600,000. Run the numbers for your own situation and see what you come up with. Perhaps your students pay less tuition, or perhaps your administrators deserve higher salaries, though I seriously doubt the latter. Whatever the case may be, I am almost certain that most university instructors are criminally underpaid, and this probably includes many tenured professors at prestigious universities. Now ask yourself, where is all of that money going? And why shouldn't more of it go to the professors, who are the only ones that are actually essential to running a university? Let me say that again. The only thing you need to run a university is professors, smart people with PhDs who know how to teach and how to do research. Everything else is secondary. That being the case, if university instructors are not being paid reasonably, which they aren't, and if we can't carry out our work successfully in existing institutions, it's time to leave and to find other places where we are paid what we are worth. Third, making money isn't evil. The humanities are going to die if everyone in the humanities keeps accusing anyone who tries to make money of being a capitalist. I would like to think that I am just as critical of capitalism as the next North American with a doctorate in the humanities. But until we abolish capitalism and replace it with something better, we'll need money to keep the humanities alive. People with PhDs in the humanities need to go make a lot of it, or pretty soon there won't be any more PhD programs in the humanities, because there won't be anyone funding them. At many of our universities, there may not even be anyone who really understands what the humanities are or what they're for. So stop getting tangled up in your own moral objections and go make some money. The fact is, even as a professor or a graduate student, you are deeply entangled in capitalism and finance. Indeed, I suspect that there is a direct correlation between the size of a university's endowment and the shrillness of the denunciations of capitalism delivered by that university's faculty and graduate students. Independent scholars need to start making what Taleb, author of The Black Swan, calls FU money. As he explains, FU money shields you from prostituting your mind and frees you from outside authority, any outside authority. Fourth, financial independence doesn't necessarily mean being rich. Financial independence might sound like an idea that is limited to the extremely wealthy. I do think there are moral reasons not to pursue extreme wealth, or perhaps to get rid of it if one happens to have it. But wealth and financial independence are not exactly the same thing. For a philosophy of financial independence that doesn't focus on being rich, there are any number of sources to which one might turn, but I would recommend starting with the book Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. Robin writes, "Financial independence is an experience of freedom at the psychological level. You are free from the slavery to unconsciously held assumptions about money and free of the guilt, resentment, envy, frustration, and despair you may have felt about money issues. Financial independence begins by shifting one's psychological relationship to money. You don't need to ascribe to every aspect of Robin's approach to financial independence to agree with the idea that financial independence has more to do with one's attitude than it does with how much money one has. For many academics, that psychological relationship to money might include the perhaps unconscious sense of dependence on academic institutions for one's livelihood. But that feeling of dependence can be shifted. This is really the key idea of this video. Becoming an independent scholar means realizing that one can earn a livelihood and continue to be a scholar without being dependent on an academic institution. This is financial independence. There's more that needs to be said about each of the ideas I have discussed in this video and the previous three. But as we reach the end of this manifesto, I'd like to return to the idea of being an independent scholar. There are no doubt a host of exemplars to whom we might turn for inspiration here, but I would nominate Moses Mendelssohn as the patron saint of contemporary independent scholars. Mendelssohn was a Jew who lived in 18th century Berlin, recognized across Europe not only as a philosopher but also as a defender of Jewish equality and an interpreter of Judaism. As a Jew, however, Mendelssohn was unable to obtain employment at a university. He spent his professional life working at a silk factory, first as a bookkeeper and then as an owner. Let me say this in conclusion. If Mendelssohn was able to write brilliant philosophical work over many decades while earning enough money to provide for himself and his family, there is no reason the rest of us can't try to do the same. Circumstances, abilities, and outcomes will vary, but this should not stop us from working to create new institutions and new pathways that serve the intellectual life more effectively and from carrying out meaningful research to the extent of our abilities.